Hello, my name is Susan Edwards Richmond, and I'm the author of the citizen science adventure Bird Count, illustrated by Stephanie Pfizer Coleman. I'm here today to share some arts-related activities so that you can extend your exploration with birds. I'm going to start with a craft idea. You may have noticed that with spring coming, some birds are starting to check out nest boxes. You may have even seen some birds with some nesting materials in their beaks, maybe a beakful of grasses or a small twig. What we're going to do is we're going to help those birds by making nest helpers. And we'll start with just a simple plastic container. This is also a great way to reuse or repurpose something that you would normally throw away. This is actually a container that tomatoes came in, but you can use one from strawberries or other types of berries. Anything that has these holes you can see punctuating in the side so that you can weave things in and out. So birds mostly use natural materials, but every once in a while you'll see a nest where they have found some kind of a piece of yarn or string or piece of cloth. So what we're going to do is find some of these pieces of yarn and things that you might have around your house, maybe in a scrap box or a sewing basket, and we weave them in and out of the holes like this so that they're held in there nice and tight, but a bird can pull it with its beak and pull it right out. So let's see, that was a blue piece of yarn. Maybe we'll take this colorful ribbon. It's good to use natural materials, natural fibers, something like either cotton or linen, so that or silk, so that if it does end up in the environment, it will eventually break down and not be a problem. Also a good idea to use short pieces of yarn. Don't use something this long because the bird could get its feet tangled and you don't want that to happen. So something like this, just a couple of inches, is just right. So we'll put in another piece of white yarn, weave that in, and here's a nice piece of cloth. It's nice and bright, soft. Maybe a bird will want to use that to line her nest, so it'll be nice and soft when the eggs hatch for the babies. So that's some of our materials that we may have gathered from home. And then because they do like natural materials, most of all, I also went out into my yard and gathered some leaves and branches and things, and I thought we could weave some of those in as well. Here's a nice big leaf that might be able to be a nice lining for a nest. I'm going to poke that in a couple of different angles. And here's some weeds that have some soft bristly heads that they might want to use to soften the bottom of the nest. And here's another one of those with the soft, that might be nice for a bird. So we'll poke that in over here. And maybe you can weave some grasses as well. So a lot of these materials are ones that the bird will probably be able to find in the environment, but we can make it a little bit easier for them by providing it in a handy helper like this. So when you think that we've got enough materials, we're feeling good about what we've filled our nest helper with, it's time to find something that we can use to hang it. So let's see what we've got. Here you can use a longer fiber because you're going to be hanging it from a tree. The bird isn't going to end up getting snared in it. So we just put that in the top, and then we can, we can snap it shut, and then we're all ready to go out in the yard and hang it from a branch, all set for the birds. Put that away to hang out later. The next activity I want to do together is a movement activity, get you moving. This is a collaboration with another children's book author. Her name is Connie Bergstein Dow. And I think of her as kind of the queen of movement for kids. If you go to her website at movingislearning.com, she has a lot of great movement activities. This was actually an idea that she had, and she shared it, and we kind of ran with it, or I guess I should say we flew with it, because it's about birds. Birds move and fly in a variety of different ways, and in the book, that's actually one of the ways that Ava identifies the birds. That's one of the ways that we know what a bird is, especially when we don't necessarily get close enough to see every detail of the bird's coloration. If we see the way it flies or the way it moves, we might have a clue. So I put some tabs in here about some of the birds that we could look at. And let's start with the geese, where the geese were flying over in formation. And Ava described them as having long necks and slow wing beats. They're very strong flyers, so we can spread our arms and make very long, slow, strong wing beats. And you can pretend to be a goose migrating. Maybe you're coming north for the spring after a long winter. Or maybe you're just flying across town like the geese in the book do, and you're going to land in Cucurbit Field. So we're going to swoop in and put our wings behind us, and then put down our landing gear and land in the field, just like a goose. There's another bird that Ava was able to identify by the way it flew. To remember the vultures. And she said that those birds were not her raven because they flew in a V. So I'm going to show a little bit more how that bird, if you put your arms up in a V and your body down, and vultures kind of teeter back and forth. So it could be a vulture teetering through the sky. Now when you see a vulture, you'll know, because it'll be the big black bird that's got the V wings and the teetering motion. Wonderful vultures. Great job. And if you remember when we visited the pond, there were a number of different birds. There were two kinds of ducks that Ava was able to identify primarily by the way they swam and ate, because the mallard and the merganser both have green heads and they have some similar markings. But the mallard, remember, swims and then its bottom sticks up in the air. It's looking at the bottom of the pond or underneath the water for some pondweed or some plants. It doesn't actually dive all the way in the water. You'll see its tail feathers sticking up. The merganser, however, will swim and swim, and it's looking for fish. So when it sees a fish, it dives, splash, right into the water. So you can always tell the dabbling ducks from the diving ducks because of the way they feed. The other bird that was here was the great blue heron. Those are very stately on their long legs, and you can walk like a heron. Walk on your long legs, and then maybe you'll stretch out your long neck. And when you see a frog or a fish, you're going to plunge your head and neck into the water and catch your prey so that you'll have something to eat. Oh, and of course, who could forget the Cooper's hawk? Cooper's hawks fly through the neighborhood with their wing beats. Thump, 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 thump. But then when they see their prey, they put their wings behind them and swoosh and reach out their talons and grab. So they may have caught a mouse or a small bird. So if you want to be a Cooper's hawk, you can thump, 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 thump. And then do you spot your prey? Whoosh! Grab! Did you get it? Or did it get away? The last bird we're going to look at movement for is the woodpecker, the downy woodpecker here. You can see it clinging to the trunk. So we can be woodpeckers standing straight up and putting our feet in front of us like the woodpecker does and holding on to that trunk of the tree. And then we will maybe move our heads forward. If we had little beaks, we're going to snatch grubs and other insects from underneath the bark. And you can even find a piece of wood or some surface and make woodpecker rat-a-tat, rat-a-tat, and sound just like a woodpecker rapping on a tree in your yard or outside your window. So that's all the birds we're going to look at today, but there are many more in the book. You might want to read through the book and act it out from the point of view of the birds and try being all the different birds that Ava sees in the book. Or you might want to just put on some music after the video, put on a CD of maybe Vivaldi's Four Seasons, a spring, or some favorite music, and dance like a bird. Maybe you have a favorite bird and you'd like to swoop around the room like a hawk, or maybe you'd like to march like a heron, or maybe you'd like to try a variety of birds. Just have fun and enjoy. And I wanted to let you know that there are more fun activities online. You can go to peachtree-online.com, click on the image of the bird count book, and you will see a page of resources, a teacher's guide, a bird survey, and some more information about me and about the book. Or you can go to susanedwardsrichmond.com, my website, and go to the Educators tab and look under Resources, and I have lots of activities in all different disciplines of math and science and arts, more art-related activities, painting with feathers, making nests, lots of fun things that you can do at home. So thanks so much for visiting today. I had a great time. I hope you did too. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.